Yeah, so here's a key thing to notice, right? That is that you can actually use outreach tools that are automated, mostly automated, for inbound marketing, right? I know, new concept. But what that really means is that normally you use something like cold email or an automated DM tool or whatever you use as an outreach tool, right? To reach out to people, it has to be automated, not manpowered. To reach out to people, and then you get them on a call, right? Book a call. That is the primary driver when you run a sales-driven business and a pipeline, right? So you reach out to people, hook their attention, draw them into a call, and then on that call you have a sales process, and they either buy or not, and then you do follow-up, or you onboard and fulfill and retain and remarket and all that good stuff, right? The thing with that is it's very time consuming and it's very costly. If you want to run it with extra people, it's manpower. It's going to cost you some money. Also a lot of process and management issues. So it gets cluttered very, very fast unless you're really on point, right? So for a lot of people, this is the fastest way to basically ramp up your revenue, because you reach out to people and so you control the volume you run. And you get people on a sales call, and on that sales call you sell, or you close them, or you, as a minimum, establish a good relationship for later follow-up, right? So you can control the numbers, and it's predictable, right? Which is very good. It's very, very time consuming, right? Especially if you're doing it on your own. Now, like even if you have automated tools, right? They reach out, and at some point, if you use AI automated sequences at some point, there's a response where you need to take over and then do the sales thing, right? On the sales call. You have to jump on a call and talk to people, right? That's how it goes. Now, if you have more leads than what you know to do with, and if you have, you're already making money and shit like that, you put in things that screen people off so you don't get tire kickers, right? And you so you engineer your whatever cold outreach sequence, whatever you have it, to kind of attract the right people and repel the wrong one. So you're kind of getting the right people on the call, right? The second step to that is you put in some type of type form or whatever preparation with like a short email sequence before the call, like a questionnaire, like an application form. And this serves two purposes. Number one, it increases the perceived value of the meeting. You get to basically screen off people that you won't want to, talk to, waste your time because they don't fit what it is you offer, right? Which means you're going to get less booked call, less lead flow, but they're going to be more qualified, right? That's the second step. A third step that you can implement is you can have basically you can separate your sales call into a two-step process where you have a discovery call, very short, just to see if there's a fit, like an alignment or fit call. Then you can have the discovery call or the strategy session where you close them, right? So you can have like short 10-15 minute calls just to see if people are qualified, like qualification call. And then you have the call, right? So that's the third thing you can do. And if you want to supercharge this, then you add in email sequences that automatically fires off, that both have, and basically it's a go-click sequence, right? Where you basically give people a short email preparation for what people need to know before the call, and either go fill out questionnaires, application forms. You give them intake homework, right, to prepare for the call. So they show up qualified or screen themselves off. They self-select themselves off of the call. It might also be to pre-frame the sale and indoctrinate them before the major call, right? Because it's a very big difference if you have a consultative approach to sale, right? Where you need to kind of find out if what you do, the problem you solve, the products, the solutions you have, basically fit basically fits with what it is they need. And don't sell shit to people that don't need it, or, well, if they want it, even though they might not need it, then give it to them, because people like to buy shit. But if you're doing them a disservice, don't sell shit to them, right? So I like a diagnostics or consultative sales approach, very soft close at the end, just basically asking people, so what do you want to do? Do you want to move forward or not? And so when I hop on a call, they tend to be longer, because even though they're not ready to move forward with me, or even though they're not ready to close the deal, there isn't a fit, or there's other options, whatever it is, I want them to walk away with value, right? And so I basically do blueprinting sessions, and then I just ask them, do you want to move forward? Do you want any help with this? So they don't walk away not knowing what to do, or I gatekeep like the secret to how to make it work or whatever. Don't do that shit. If people give you your time, right, and you give them their time, give them what they need. Tell them what to do, right? And then ask them if they want some help with it. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be like whatever, right? And if they have some self-limiting beliefs around this issue, you really can help them, and they have some self-limiting beliefs or some objection, whatever, concerns, just fucking educate them and talk to them and reframe their perspective and give them insights, right, that get clarify their line of thought, right? That's how you do it. You don't pressure. You just say, listen, man, there's some stuff you need to know. Probably let's talk it over. And then if they leave, and you didn't close, who cares? You're still going to be top of mind as the one person who kind of stand out in the marketplace by actually fucking helping them for 2 hours for free. And so what happens then is, like, when you run a pipeline like this, what happens is you extend the sales cycle. So basically a prospect that's ready to close is like a 30-day thing, right? Are they likely to close within 30 days or not? That's what we measure and track as step one. Then 90 days, I would say. So short and intermediate sales cycle measurement, right? Above that, it's like for most businesses and companies, it doesn't really make a sense to kind of do long-term tracking and build your business and predictability around it, right? But what's going to happen is every so often, depending on how much you do this, it's like 6, 8, 9, 10 months later, then you get an email or a DM or whatever from some guy saying, listen, man, I'm ready to buy. Can we look things over once again? And maybe work something out. And then they're just ready to buy, man. Right? And so you close them there. And that accumulates, right? Because you help them and you spend time with them. And so that's what generally a sales-driven business. It takes a lot of time. And another benefit of this is if you really prove your value and show them that you know your stuff in person, one-to-one on a call, you can sell higher ticket, right? But you always want to give them results in advance. You always want to have them walk away with what they need, right? Now, back to the main point that we started with. You can use these outbound outreach tools for inbound marketing. So the difference is that doing outbound, you have a sales-driven business, right? Reach out to people, get them on a call, sell. Track everything, run them in a pipeline, do follow-up, whatever. A marketing-driven business is basically where you put stuff out there and they come to you pre-framed and pre-sold, right? That's why social media and content marketing is so incredibly big. And once you have that shit up and running, it's the number one way to get consistent, predictable revenue, especially if you have some really cool content and you layer some ads on top. Inbound marketing, that is where you want to be, because it's also you're selling one-to-many. And so your sales call, if it's high ticket, basically becomes an enrollment call. You just say, you have them on a call and they're qualified and they're ready to go. And you say, yes, let's pull the trigger and do this shit, right? And you also, in that situation, when you have more demand than supply, you also have the freedom to say, listen, I don't think I'm the best fit for you right now. I don't think I can help you in the way that you need it. This is not what you need. And then you say, of course, you say, you need to go here and do XYZ first. You help them in whatever way you can. You refer them on, and you might perceive it as if you're losing money or losing client. You're not, because you steering them in the right direction means you're building and growing the ideal dream client later, right? You're building and growing your ideal dream client later. And so what happens when they get to the stage where they're ready to receive your help? Who do you think they're gonna think of first, man? They're gonna come to you, right? So the thing is, if you're a little bit tech savvy, if you know your shit, or hire someone who knows their shit, you can supercharge your organic content through outbound marketing tools. I'm gonna give you a couple of concrete examples, right? Let's say instead of running a cold email sequence, right, where you're prospecting or reaching out for partnerships or clients or getting people on a call and booking a call, what you're going to do instead is you're going to engineer a sequence that is purely value driven. You try to connect with the right target audience and provide value to them, give them what they need and show your expertise, and you basically drive them to your long form conversion oriented content, right? This is middle of funnel. Top of funnel is to get awareness, right? Hook people in, get them into your ecosystem. Middle of funnel is basically to convert people, indoctrinate them, pre-frame them before they buy. Circling a little bit back here. So a sales-driven business where you do outreach mainly to generate revenue, you don't put out content and shit like that in top of funnel to gain people's attention. You reach out and you skip the middle of funnel part and you go directly to the sales call, which is bottom of funnel, right? That's basically how it runs. There are, nuances, degrees, things you can do to add on. It's not that simple, but I'm just giving you a general overview. But when you do use an outreach tool, basically to reach out to people with the intent solely to grab their attention and drive them to your middle of funnel valuable resources, right? That could be ongoing an email flow, right? That indoctrinates people, which basically just means you teach, train, and educate them, right? Give them value. It might be, so sign up for my email, newsletter, whatever. It might be driving them to a YouTube channel where you have long form content and then a link for a list building, right? Because you want to have people's contact info. You just want to drive them to some valuable long form content where they can spend time together with you and learn what it is you do, right? Because the more time people spend together with you, right, the bigger the relationship, the bigger they know about you, what it is you have to offer, so they can self-select themselves into your offer or deselect. And that's perfectly okay. And so you layer that middle of funnel content with like some type of conversion or opt-in into a list, right? Because basically all businesses is building lists and communicating with those lists. That's it. And then there's the vehicle for this, right? The pages, the videos, the email sequences, the outreach messages. It is what it is. It's about lists of people that fits your product or service. And then it's about the vehicle, right, for your communication. And then it's about the communication and the messaging and how you basically sell to people, send them up your value ladder by delivering very cool results for them, and thereby you will retain them and you will grow them. You will ascend them up your value ladder and hopefully ascend them up their ambition line, which is just basically what they want to achieve in life, right? So you take that outreach tool, you provide value and drive them to your middle of funnel content, right? And that's very cheap to do. If you run cold email like this, you can basically use a cold email engine or a DM outreach tool to drive people to your middle of funnel content. You hook their attention. So basically you're just hooking their attention, making them aware of you and driving to your middle of funnel content. And then they subscribe to your YouTube channel or your Instagram. They signed up for hopefully you have this lead magnets, helpful resources guide. They buy your low ticket offers, right? And they get into your marketing ecosystem. And that's how you use outreach tools for inbound marketing instead of outbound, right? So you use an outbound tool for inbound marketing. And this works wonders. It works wonders. It's really, really fucking cool. Especially for like, if you run an ad campaign, everyone knows this, that's in business. If you can run an ad campaign to a low ticket offer, and basically you break even on your ad spend, you can scale indefinitely, right? Because it's just about, well, the ad cost, the cost to acquire a customer drops below what it is you're making, then it's a cost, right? But if you have an ad funnel, video, written ad post, whatever it is you run, whatever type of ad or platform, whatever it is, where you can reach your people, put an offer in front of them that's converting, and that cost is either break even or a return on investment, like you make money off of it. It's basically a pipeline or a way to, it's a resource where you can generate unlimited. You can scale, you can generate unlimited clients. You just pump money in, get your money back, you have a new batch of clients. And you want to have it for, like, don't run it to high ticket services, although it's good if you can get a client like that way. It's pretty expensive. But if you run it to low ticket, where that low ticket also indoctrinates them and prepares them and grows them for your high ticket offer, is really, really good, right? And you can just turn that ad engine off and off, on and off. What you can also do, you can have the same process and just use cold email, or use a cold outreach tools like Prosp, or whatever it is you want to use, right? And so the cost of that is always a lot cheaper than ads. I'm not saying that you don't want to have ads, because you have to scrape a list and reach out to the right people and yada, yada, yada. There's work to be done with using a outbound cold outreach tool for engineering it towards inbound marketing, right? So you have to take that into consideration too. And also, ultimately, you want to have diversified lead flow, which means that you don't want to rely on like cold email. You don't want to rely on organic content. You don't want to rely on ads. You don't want to rely on partnerships. You want to have all of that shit in place. So if one dips, because they are synergistic, which means that everything fluctuates, right? So if your ad's not performing, who gives a shit, because your cold email is, right? If your cold email is not performing, who gives a shit, because your ads or your content is. And ultimately, all of those 4 things, right? 4, 5, 6 things you can do to put people into your marketing ecosystem, they kind of reinforce each other. Which means that if someone has seen you in an ad, and they also seen your social media content, right? And they received a cold email from you, right? That means that it's just more touch points, right? And if those touch points lead people to long form content where they get to spend time with you and learn what it is you do, guess what? You're going to have a very easy sales process. Now, I'm not saying, and here's the interesting thing. This is a key point I want to mention. And that is once you start to use cold outreach tools like this, and you're not prospecting for clients or partners or getting people on a book call or selling them something directly, which is the conventional way. You're just driving people to value, getting them to spend time with you in your long form content. What happens is that even though that is the primary goal that you're trying to basically achieve with this outbound tool, when you use it this way, right? Just get people in your ecosystem. A lot of the time, the response rate for book a call is either going to be the same or higher. Jackpot, baby. So that basically means that besides getting the same amount of leads to book a call with you, you also pull a greater degree of people into your marketing ecosystem, right? That is going to convert longer down the road. You get to build your list. People get to spend time with you through your long form content, reading your resources, seeing you as the expert. The guy that helped them out is the guy that has the right product or solution for them, and they'll reach out to you. And so the immediate response rate, if you don't even have to say go here, watch this video, or book a call. Just say, go here, watch this video, get this free guide. And you know what? People are not fucking stupid, right? There's this old saying where you say the customer is not an idiot, she's your fucking wife. I think I have it from Frank Kern, who has it from somewhere else. What that basically means is don't think your customer is a fucking idiot, right? A lot of time you have to tell people what to do, so there's clarity, right? Especially if you drive people cold traffic to a page, you want to give a clear call to action to get them to do whatever it is you want them to do, whatever conversion mechanism or whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you want to tell them, right? But people are not idiots. So if you tell them to go watch this video and they're watching it's valuable, guess what? People are in general smart enough to think, let me just send that guy a DM, right? Let me just send him an email, see what happens. And then when they send you an email, you send them a book a call link. If you want to have the sales process, you still have an aspect of your business where you do sales, right? But I'll advise that you first interact with them through DMs or email, and then to qualify them, right? And then send them some more helpful resources, material, make sure that they're right fit, and then you get them on a call. So you will increase your close rate on your call, which means there's a less time cost for this, right? So there's a multiple ways where you can leverage this in this way. And so what I in general do, soft pitch coming up, is I just go in and I do my coaching and consulting thing where I basically run through a whole business model, right? And I also run through, that's what the coaching component, the lifestyle, and basically how someone wants to live, where they're at in their life, because in the end, the business is a driver for your lifestyle, right? You want to make money so you can live the life that you want to live. And so how do we engineer a situation where that's possible? And for a lot of business owners or founders, whatever it is, right, unless they're hell-bent on this one thing, this mission in their life, they're willing to sacrifice anything to achieve that goal, 15-hour work days, doing the whole Elon Musk thing, right? It's a very small percentage degree. What often happens when people found a business or run a business is once they start to make money and they start to scale and grow, chaos and complexity evolves. It's a natural byproduct. Especially if you run a sales-driven business, which is how most businesses start. And so you need to overhaul that shit, right? And you need to fix the lead flow. Diversify it, fix the lead flow, get it converted into inbound, right? So you free up your time and then you smooth them out your sales process and increase the conversion rates, improve your product, improve your value ladder, your offer stack, all those things, right? It's basically your, we say marketing ecosystem, but what it really is your business ecosystem, right? And you want to have a freedom business where you have time for yourself. You have resources, you have money, you have the right network. You work with the clients or have the customers that you like to have and serve. Because at the end, our objective must always be to not have a shitty life that we don't want to live, right? So what that basically means is you don't want to end up with a business that's overwhelming you, taking up all your time, so you sacrifice your friendship, your relationships. I am guilty of that actually, but that's also because I like this work, right? I like to work with clients, I like the business thing. So some of my social relations has suffered a little bit, but I have love in my life. I have family, right? I maintain those relationships. I have a very close friend that doesn't give a shit about whether or not we speak for a month or not. Doesn't matter. So I just select those types of relationships, right? And then I help them in whichever way I can, right? Because you need that aspect of your life. You also need some time for yourself. I like to build shit. I like to learn shit. I like to grow shit. I like to, just continually honing my craft. And that takes time. So if it was dependent on like doing a shit ton of calls every single month to just make ends meet, where's the time to grow and learn and expand, right? And that's very important to me. And it also increases my knowledge and my skills so I can keep growing and evolving and provide more value to my client and the marketplace and whatever. But it's also just for me. And I like to fucking work out, right? I like to take walks. I like to read shit, right? And so these things has to be taken into consideration, right? And so if you're stuck in a sales-driven business, and if there's too much chaos and complexity, and you basically want to optimize your lead flow and diversify it a little bit and kind of supercharge it and get a lot of inbound, using an outbound tool and reconfiguring it, if you're already using that, and building out assets and automations and value-driven content, long-form, middle-of-funnel content that converts, that people spend time with you, so you can do one-to-many, and plug it into a outbound tool, is very, very powerful, right? And once you free up that time, you can build more assets that help people to self-select and help people to indoctrinate or teach, train, educate them into your world. So it smoothens out the sales process, right? It's also the easiest way to scale, right? Media. Because it's one-to-many. You do it once, it's one-to-many, and there you have it. And so this is basically one of the key things that you can do if you're stuck in complexity, is to simplify your whole sales process down to be centered around inbound marketing. And if you have outbound tool systems in place, you can reconfigure them into serving your inbound marketing, right? It's doing something different, but it's well worth it. Sometimes doing more of what works isn't necessarily the best option. It's too simplistic, right? Because doing more of what works, you also have to take into consideration what's the time cost and the resource cost and what's your margin on it, right? So taking a step back and building out some inbound, right? And reconfiguring some of your outbound tools to inbound and getting that middle of funnel content out there is very, very helpful. It's very valuable. And you can just split it in two, right? You can split it in two. And you can split test the other half and see what performs, right? And track and measure and optimize, all that good stuff. And so let me give you another concrete example, right? Everybody knows that it's very important and very valuable to have a list, right? Build a list, do email marketing, right? And so you get people to opt in and you build a list and you market to them, send them emails. Now, cold email, obviously you can't do B2C, right? It's forbidden everywhere. But you can do B2B. And so a very helpful perspective for you is just to think, okay, my cold email outreach is now basically just going to be a value-driven newsletter that people didn't opt in for. You could just treat it like that. Just reach out to people and say, yeah, we wrote this newsletter. It's very helpful, very valuable. We thought you should give it a go. Try it out. Here's a link. Boom. And you will get signups. And it's cheap. Much cheaper than running ads or Sparkplug or, getting co-sign up or co-registration through Beehive or ConvertKit, right? Or getting them through ads. So this is a major thing. And so I use this a lot with clients when I'm overhauling their business, when they're trying to pivot into basically a freedom-oriented business or lifestyle. Yeah, I'm not present that much. I don't have that much inbound through social media, which is something I'll be putting out there because obviously you want to have a personal brand, but you can use outbound in the same way, which is what I've been doing, and it works wonders. So that's like kind of I don't know how big of a thing this is, but it works really well. And yeah, of course, if you want some help with all of this, if you want me to run over your business, I have a couple of different offers. Just reach out, man, and tell me a little about who you are and what it is you want to accomplish here in life, what resources you have at your disposal. I'm not talking about what you can pay me, but just do you have something to work with? And I know how it is to be in a tight spot. I know how it is to be where it's chaos and it's complexity. And I work with clients to do this. Listen, man, if you want some help with this, we can work it out, right? That's my offer. So just reach out. And in general, I like to help people. It's how I pivoted my life towards, right? So if I can't help you directly, or we're not a good fit, or what I cost is not within like a comfortable budget range for you, or we're just not the right fit at the right time, I'll fucking refer you to someone that is, right? Because like I said previously in this video, you'll remember me, right? If I send you that one resource, or give you that helpful tip of advice, or refer you to someone that ultimately solves your problems, yeah, you're most likely going to reach out later. So I'm very helpful, right? So reach out if you want some help, and I'll do my absolute best